Welcome back to another weekly edition of the Pursuit of Progress podcast. My name is Benjamin Adams, and I'm here with my co host, Adam Lang. And today we are excited to talk about a really exciting life changing principle known as the Pareto Principle. Now, you may have heard of it, but let me give you a little more background before we dive into it. This principle is also known as the 80-20 rule. And true story, the Pareto Principle was named after the Italian economist who observed that 80% of Italy's land was owned by 20% of the population. And he identified this in the late 19th century. And this principle has since been founded and applicable various aspects of life, from business to personal productivity and so much more. It's been featured in multiple business books. And this is also something that, Adam, I know you are an incredible believer in. Know that you have constantly referenced this personally with your business. And just give us an idea of what this means to you and the impact that this principle has had on your life.
What is up, everybody? Hope you all are having a great week. Excited to share a little bit more on this one. I think this is definitely a topic that is pretty well known. I think most of you maybe have even heard of it already, but just to kind of reiterate on some of the little bullet points that I think are incredibly valuable to start keeping in mind. And this can apply, like Ben said, to your business life, but also your personal life. So really it can be relatable to anything that you're trying to just improve upon. So it fits really well with our podcast of the pursuit of progress. So I want to just share that I've gotten most of my value from this 80-20 rule when it comes more to business than personal life. I know Ben has a few more personal life experiences with this that he'll share in a minute, but I've just had an entrepreneurial background, and just with building up my prior business, this was something that I learned the hard way over time, as far as just where am I putting my energy? What am I focusing my daily efforts on? And are those really income producing tasks that are moving the needle in the right direction, towards becoming more successful and generating more revenue? 80-20 rule, basically that's just stating that, 80% of, let's just talk about it again, from a business perspective, 80% of sales come from only about 20% of your customers. So in another way to understand that would be, like, for example, in a, let's just say you own a retail store, you're going to have your VIP type clients, your VIP customers that are a lot higher ticket customers that are coming back, repeat customers, repeat visits. They're purchasing 80% of your product. And it's only that 20% of people that are doing that. So that would be one way to look at it. Another way would just be to think of it as like 80% of problems, from a negative perspective now. Okay. 80% of the problems that exist in your business are most likely arising from about 20% of the causes. There's certain little things that are causing all of this chaos in your business potentially. So I'll go a little bit more in depth on that in a minute. But Ben, before I do, is there anything you want to add to that as far as from a business perspective?
It's so interesting that you referenced that last tidbit there, because every time that I have heard of this, it's kind of focusing on the results versus production. But you're also right, as far as maybe problems in your life, 80% of your problems are coming from this one source, or this small thing. So I think that's absolutely relevant. But yeah, it's very interesting.
So when I had my prior business, for those of you that don't know, I started a chain of tanning salons, and we grew it to 5 locations throughout Denver or throughout Colorado. And just as I started to, go through different levels of growth within that business, I got involved with what's known as EOS. And EOS is a framework of how to operate a business. And it's through a guy named Vern Harnish, who wrote a book called Traction. And that's where I first learned about this concept of the 80-20 principle. And the way that we looked at it from a perspective of how can I improve my efficiency within my business? How can I, one of the most important words in all of business, in my opinion, the word delegate. How can I delegate certain tasks to others to free up my ability to focus on, again, what tasks are truly moving the needle and actually taking the company forward into the next level of growth? So
Mm-hmm.
Within this EOS framework and this book Traction, if you guys are looking for a great book and you are a business minded person that wants to improve different aspects of your company, definitely check out Traction. But what they really kind of dumbed it down to is they had a little exercise we did where we took 2 weeks and we just went through our normal day-to-day activities, each of these different business owners that I was part of this group with, and we would just write down every task that we did for that day. Then we would also identify what tasks were repeated. So which tasks were we doing more than once? If it's being
Mm-hmm.
done more than once, there's a good chance that that can be something that I can train somebody else to help me do.
Okay.
But in addition to that, we identified after 2 weeks all these different tasks and kind of, rather than putting them in a level of importance, thought of it from a mindset of, all right, which of these tasks are like $10 an hour tasks?
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, for example, for me with my tanning salon business, me being in the salon cleaning the carpets once a month, or
Okay.
something that was a low dollar per hour task that I could easily hire somebody and outsource or delegate to somebody else to do instead. That would be a $10 an hour task.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'd also, though, identified what would be $100 an hour tasks, even $1,000 an hour tasks, and then even going to the extent of a $10,000 an hour task. So, you can think of it as working on your business, working in your business. Working on your business is these bigger tasks, these $10,000 an hour tasks, thinking of, what, maybe if I change a software that I use to manage all of my client database, maybe that is something that really needs to be assessed and looked at and maybe making a change. That would be an example of a $10,000 an hour task because it's drastically changing the efficiency and all sorts of other aspects of the business. So anyways,
Mm-hmm.
just really clearly identifying these different dollar per hour tasks. And that started to also help me understand this 80-20 principle where am I focusing my daily activities? Are they
Yeah.
on things that are the 20% that are generating 80% of the results? Or am I stuck doing things that are part of that 80% that really aren't doing more than, at best, maybe 20% of the results? If you can start to think through that idea, that concept, and just apply it to everything that you do within your business, that can really give you some clarity and understanding on, what's important, where you need to spend your time, and also kind of going into our next part of this, which I'll talk about more in a minute, about just time management and how this is a really good catalyst to helping you understand and hopefully improve just your time management skills with, again, what you're working on within your business.
I think it's so important to have intentional thought surrounding this area. And the reason for that is because I see so many people, they just kind of get into their daily routine. I'm going to open up my computer. I'm going to start checking my emails. I'm going to make some phone calls. From what I'm hearing from you, that first really important step is just having a heightened awareness about what are your $100 tasks, your $1,000 tasks, your $10,000 tasks, and making sure that you're really spending your time on those business moving forward high income activities. And you're not saying, from what I'm hearing, that the 10 or $100 tasks aren't important. What you're saying is that you want to make sure that you're focusing your energy and effort on things that are unique to your abilities, and things that you can do that no one else can do, that are really going to be those high income producing activities.
Yeah, exactly. You hit the nail on the head, that last part. What are the very few unique daily activities or tasks that really nobody else within your company can do other than yourself? You'd be surprised, though, over time, when you get this mindset of this 80-20 rule, you'd be amazed at how much you really truly can delegate to others, even stuff that you really maybe at first think is only things that you can do yourself. It's just been amazing from my experiences, just how much you truly can outsource and delegate to others. Another great kind of a book, to whether or not you guys have read it before, it's a really good on audiobook, actually, and it's older, but the Tim Ferriss's The 4 Hour Work Week. He
Mhm.
gets this concept and just takes it to a whole nother level where he is, running his business completely remotely, delegating almost every task.
Mm.
I'll share one quick story just on this topic, but this guy that was speaking on a TED Talk, it wasn't Tim Ferriss, but it was along the same concept, talked about how he had a 24/7 live stream webcam in his, I think he lived in a big city like New York, in his
Okay.
laundry room showing his laundry basket. And he just thinking this again, taking this to the whole nother level. He had a virtual assistant, several virtual assistants, and I could talk through some of that too. I have a few virtual assistants that I really like to leverage as much as I can as well. But one of these virtual assistants was basically just tasked. One of their tasks was just monitoring this webcam, checking it a few times, maybe in the morning or in the evening, just once or twice a day. When
Hmm.
this laundry basket became full, they would simply call the laundry company who had already been set up ahead of time and had access to his apartment. They would just come in, grab his laundry, do his laundry, fold it, press it, all that kind of stuff. And then that's just one little task that he no longer is needing to even think about through a
Yeah.
level of kind of technology and intention. Same idea. They also brought up the idea of him having one of these new refrigerators that has the kind of see-through glass door with the camera on the app where you can see what's in your refrigerator. Same
Hmm.
idea. He would have the virtual assistant just occasionally, check in on this and make sure he had milk and groceries and all that kind of stuff. So there's a whole other extreme that people can take this to, which I don't necessarily want to be warranting at this point, but just understanding and getting creative and empowering yourself by taking everything you can off of your plate where your whole focus is on these things, these 20% of the truly the tasks that truly matter.
And so, what would you say to someone? Because I know a lot of times to delegate some of those other tasks, like you're suggesting, there can be a cost involved. And from my experience, I've seen so many individuals, whether it's professional or personal, there can sometimes be a little bit of a reluctance to delegate or hand that stuff off because they're so focused on what the cost would be. So, what would your message be to someone like that?
Well, first off, you would be amazed at how affordable it is if you actually start to dive into this. The average going rate for a virtual assistant is anywhere from $3 to $5 an hour. So if you think through, what you could have them start doing for you, it's pretty easy to justify maybe, $10 to $20 a day. And it's basically, again, like your assistant. It's somebody that can be doing anything for you, personal life,
Hmm.
professional life. They could be making reservations for you, booking flights, anything, managing your email inbox. But really just understanding that they have so many different valuable things that they can help you with for a very, very nominal amount of money. So really just understanding that. And then a lot of times people just have a hard time understanding how to even kind of train or get somebody that's halfway across the world up to speed on what their expectations are. And
Yeah.
my recommendation for that is what I do is I have a tool that I subscribe to on my computer called Loom, Loom, and it's just a screen recording software. It's $8 or $10 a month. So anything that, again, that you find yourself doing more than once, the next time you need to do that task, if it's on your computer, just opening up the screen recording, recording yourself, just talking through whatever the task is, you doing it. Maybe it's just filtering through your inbox and
Hmm.
explaining, yeah, I'm going to delete this email because it's spam, or, this one's actually important. I'm going to move it to this folder. Just talking through what you're already doing anyways. And then
Yeah.
that way you have the screen recording, can share that with your virtual assistant and maybe even do that 2 or 3 times on different occasions of doing that same exact task. So there might be different scenarios that pop up depending on the day. And then that virtual assistant, I guarantee you, after watching a couple videos, they'll be able to pretty much knock out exactly what you're trying to do. There's
Yeah.
also one last thing before I pass it back over to you. My one of my mentors, Eli, who's part of my real estate network, he shared recently with me this idea of 10-90-10, and 10-90-10
Yeah.
is just saying that up front you're going to put about 10% of effort just into explaining whatever the task is you're trying to accomplish, maybe through a couple screen recordings.
Okay.
Sorry, 10-80-10. I think I said 10-90-10, 10-80-10. So 10% on that front end. Then you give them basically 80%, them figuring out what it is they're doing, them starting to do it. And then at the end, just another 10% of your time at the end, just basically reviewing and making sure it fits your expectations. You do
Hmm.
that 10-80-10 a few times with different tasks with your VA. Once you've got a few of those knocked out, they're going to be money. They're going to be handling it themselves. And you're just going to be, again, amazed at how much free time that provides you to work again on what matters.
That's so interesting, and I'm glad that we're having this conversation. Some of the really high producing, high achieving influencers that I follow, sometimes we'll have this exact conversation, and I'm always amazed at how many of them, how many different parts of their life they have delegated. And, for example, just going through email, there was this one individual was talking about how he doesn't even review his emails. He has that completely delegated. He has his kind of, responsibilities delegated. And if something is important enough to be brought to his attention, then the person that has been delegated to do that will bring that to his attention. But all of that stuff is really been delegated for the most part. One of the things from my personal story that I'd like to share that I think would fit in with this conversation is, from when I went through a divorce in 2018. At the time, my ex-wife had left the state, and so I had the kids full time, 24/7. I had just started my career as a loan officer, transitioned from a salary to 100% commission, and now all of a sudden, I'm raising the kids by myself. And kind of what you said, I realized that there are these tasks that are very important, but I had to ask myself, am I the best person to do these tasks? And so things just like doing dishes, doing laundry, cleaning up around the house, those are so important in my opinion, because that's what brings peace, calmness, and clarity
Hmm.
to the house. But those can also be very, huge time sucks out of your day. And so what I did is I hired a live-in nanny, and there was a cost for that. And she lived with us for 4 or 5 years. And what she did is she did all of those things. She did the dishes. She cleaned the house. She cleaned the bathrooms every day. She made sure the bedrooms were clean. She mopped and swept the floors. And so every day when I came from home from work, the house was spotless. And then I took it a step further. What was something that gave me a lot of stress? Well, it was helping the kids with their homework. And so I then hired a tutor to do that. And so I was able to hand off and hire or delegate different individuals that are experts in their field where they could put the focus on. And then that allowed me to keep my focus on me, which was as the provider and making sure that I'm bringing in income to support all of this. And I learned so much from that. And it's something that I recommend to parents, but I feel like no one ever follows my advice with that because they're so focused on the cost. But having someone to be able to hand off these domestic responsibilities to, um, and where you can just reallocate or rededicate your time to the things that is in line with your unique abilities.
Hmm. And only, I guess, not playing devil's advocate, but the one thing I will add to this that I struggled with, especially early on with this, is you use the example of, let's just say, like mowing your lawn. The cost of having it professionally, outsourcing it, having it done from somebody else, let's just say it's $35 a week to get your lawn mowed.
Yeah.
And it takes you an hour, hour and a half to do that if you're doing it yourself. There are certain tasks like mowing the lawn. I actually kind of enjoy mowing the lawn. It's kind of a little bit of a therapy in a way to just kind of listen to music and just kind of do it. So certain tasks like that, maybe I still want to do myself if I get some level of enjoyment from it. But the busier you get, eventually you are going to still have to delegate even tasks like that. But something
Hmm.
like mowing the lawn, $35 to pay somebody versus you doing it and it taking an hour.
Yeah.
That $35 that you're paying, you just want to make sure that you don't get in a habit of kind of becoming lazy where you're just paying for all these different chores, tasks to be done, but you're not replacing that now freed up time. You're not just wasting that and watching TV for that hour. The key to this is having
Hmm.
a responsibility and just an accountability within yourself that that time that you're freeing up is being used productively towards, again, moving the needle in the right direction versus just, you know, paying all these different people to do everything for you. And then you just don't do any more work to replace that now extra
Hmm.
hour that you're getting through the day. So just keep that in mind too.
Yeah, I think the time management and the efficiency, and that's why I shared that story that I had with the nanny, because it freed up all of this time, so I could then take my time and go invest it in myself and my customers and my business to earn a higher income. I think that just the time management piece is something that is so important. We have so many distractions in 2024, living in the digital age. And that's why you will always hear me talking about, what is your plan? What is your vision for your life? And that's why I think it's so important to have a vision, because when you have a vision, it gives you clarity. So when you do free up your time, you can make sure that you're using that time on the right things, and you're being productive, and you're doing, what needs to get done, just to kind of further illustrate some of your talking points there.
And, we're all human. So I don't care if it's after 8 hours of work in a day, out of 10 hours, out of 14 hours a day, whatever it may be, there's a level of decline on the quality of work you're putting in. So for somebody that is maybe pushing back on this idea, if you're busting your butt and you're working, 10-hour days, I guarantee that by that eighth, ninth, 10th hour, unless you're really taking care of yourself and doing all these other things, there's a good chance that the quality of work you're doing in that eighth, ninth, and 10th hour is probably
Hmm.
not as high quality as it was if you were doing that at, hour 7 or hour 8 of your day, kind of to end your day. So by freeing up this time, hopefully also the quality of your output is improved, but also you might be able to get to the point where you're not working 10, 12 hours a day. You're able to delegate enough work to, for the long run, be able to sustain your level of work, for 5, 10 years. Entrepreneurs get in this habit of doing everything themselves and working these insane hours. And that's just not sustainable. That's going to affect your personal life. It's going to affect your health, mental health, physical health. It's not sustainable in the long term. So the earlier you can understand this, it's just setting yourself up in a path where you are going to be able to scale your business quicker, and you are going to be healthier, mind, body, everything, to, get past these other hurdles as you grow your company.
Yeah, to me, it's just so fascinating that someone from the Italian economist, noticed or observed this, but then realizing all of these different areas that it's actually relevant in. I mean, it's shocking, isn't it? And it's so true. We've talked about business, we've talked about personal life. Um,
Let me
well,
let me interject really quick. I want to add one last thing on the business front. If you guys are a business that has customers, really understanding this value of the 20% and pouring into those people even more than maybe you think you need to. Because
yeah.
if you don't really do a deep dive on your financials and understand where your revenue is coming from, you might be kind of neglecting this small group of customers that is accounting for a large, maybe even majority of your revenue. And I talked earlier about the VIP clients. That's something that I implemented just with my prior business, is at the end, preparing kind of for like Christmas time each year, like in late October, early November, I would pull a 12-month report of total dollars spent per customer. And at the time I had like 25,000 customers. So I would
Hmm.
basically pull this list, and I would just identify the top 100, the top 100 clients that in the past 12 months had spent the most amount of money. And then you can get creative with that. I had
Yeah.
handwritten notes that I provided, all of those people with an extra little, like a Christmas gift, a appreciation gift. Being able to understand the data and the details behind where your revenue and just this 20% exists. Once you've
Mhm.
identified that, there is a ton of potential for making that top 20% of clients spend even more money, and just recognizing them and, squeezing even more juice out of that very important segment of your client database.
Yeah, and it's not something. It sounds, what we're describing. I know that everyone's heard of this principle before, but are you really aware in your business and your life where your results are coming from, how you're spending your time? And that's why I think we all need to have recurring conversations and meetings with ourselves, and just kind of re-identifying this as we're having this conversation right here. I'm just going through my head and I'm thinking, you know what? Okay, I could do this better, or I could reach out to these customers, or really focus on this set of referral partners. And it's just so easy to fall into the trap of not being intentional and letting your day run you versus you running your day. We've talked about, the, personal life. We've talked about, the business life. Do you think that this also applies to things like real estate? Do you think it applies to learning and skill development?
Yeah, 100%. I think with real estate, if it's talking about just like lead generation or just trying to find where potential opportunities for business are. I'm at fault for this a lot of the time, where I'm always focusing on outbound marketing and paid social media ads and just trying to acquire new customers, brand new customers, as opposed to just really diving deeper into my existing sphere, my existing database, and I use the term shake the trees, shaking the trees through, email campaigns and reaching out to my existing database, because there's probably a lot of business that is within my, current sphere that hasn't even been fully maximized. So that's kind of that same idea of, there's potentially some of that 20% of business is, already right underneath my nose, and I'm not even aware of it at times. I'm too
Yeah.
focused on finding these brand new leads that are a lot of times low quality and might not even be that serious about buying or selling a home.
Mm. Yeah, so interesting. So what would your advice be to someone that is wanting to be, more aware of how they can grow their skills, grow their business? Do you think do you have any books that you recommend, or how does someone go from where they're at to really identifying what is driving 80% of their results?
Yeah, two recommendations, I guess. This is just kind of off the top of my head, but there's a really good book, very short. You can read it literally in one sitting. It's like, I think it's under 100 pages long, and it's by a really famous motivational speaker, author named Brian Tracy. It's called Eat
Okay.
That Frog. And that one, it's not exactly related to the Pareto 80/20 principle, but his whole Eat That Frog is just referring to being able to identify what are the really most important tasks that you have on a daily basis, and also maybe the tasks that you're least excited about, meaning that maybe you're worried about, maybe it's a really important phone call you have to make or a difficult conversation you need to have. Eat That Frog is just referring to making that be the very first thing you do. So the first thing you do in the day, once you're, at your desk or wherever you are for your work, just knocking that stuff out immediately. That way you're
Mhm.
getting the stuff that does, again, that 20% of tasks that really matter. You're always knocking that stuff out first. So then if you get around to the afternoon and a curveball gets thrown at you, you're not sacrificing completely not doing something that matters because you got to put out a fire somewhere else and you got to deal with other things going on that inevitably are going
Mhm.
to come up all the time. So just be kind of being aware of the importance of doing these 20% activities early on in the day, just to ensure that they are getting completed on a daily basis every single day, non-negotiable. They have to get done.
Mhm.
That would be one recommendation, and then the other one would just be actually another guy we both really enjoy following, and it's Andy Frisella, who has the self improvement kind of a mental toughness program called 75 Hard, which basically just teaches you how to you have these 5 tasks that you're doing on a daily basis, and again, they're non-negotiable tasks. And understanding that after 75 days of doing this, 75 Hard is the name of the program,
Yeah.
you're becoming these tasks are then becoming more of a routine, and they're not something that you're forcing yourself to do. They just become a daily habit that you're not even, is not even affecting you anymore. It allows you to understand this concept and scale it, where what you thought at first might be overwhelming is now not overwhelming. You can even take on more and more and
Mhm.
more. And that also teaches you some of this delegation framework of, you know, delegating to others to allow you to do what is most important to get your non-negotiable tasks done consistently.
With the goal of long-term behavior change, and you and I did that together. I think it was back in 2019 or 2020. And before I did that, I was not a reader. I was not someone at the time who had a morning routine or who made my bed. And my life has changed so much after doing that challenge with you. I'm just so thankful that you prompted me and asked me to do that. I went from someone who was not a reader at all to I'm constantly now reading 2 or 3 books at a time. I mean, I read in the morning, I read before I go to bed. I love reading. And when I'm reading, feel like I'm investing in myself. It fulfills me. It gives me more confidence. I also a lot of days now I exercise twice a day. I go to the gym with you in the weekdays, Monday through Friday, and then usually I'll go out for a run later in the afternoon. So those principles and those habits that we learned during that challenge have had a huge impact on my behavior and my life. And it is something that kind of once you get in that routine, the results can really be life changing. And same thing, it's like those tasks with that challenge are probably much less than 20% of my day,
Mm-hmm.
but they bring me so much fulfillment. And I feel like if I don't get my reading in, or if I miss a workout, I'm just not the same. And so it brings me so much happiness, so much fulfillment. And I feel like when I'm on message, I'm on task. I feel powerful. I feel unstoppable, and that's what that taught me. So thank you.
Yeah, Andy Frisella has, outside of the 75 hard, if you guys research that or you already are aware of what that is, and that just doesn't sound like something you want to tackle right now, he has another really, really valuable tool that he's used for years, which is just called the power list. And it's just basically the similar concept where every day you have a notebook out on your desk or wherever you're spending the majority of your day, and you're just putting 5 tasks down that again are these 20% type things that are truly going to improve your business, improve your personal life, whatever it may be. It doesn't have to be all business related. And then those
Mhm.
5 things every day, your day isn't done until you knock out all 5 of those. And
Yeah.
you know what? If you want to knock out all 5 of those before lunchtime, you can take the afternoon off and not feel bad about it because you've structured your day around knocking out what truly is important and what's going to be, progressing your business or your personal life. So this power list is another really good tool. And it also is a way to treat you or to train you to, over a period of month, 2 months, 3 months, some of these things that are on your list now become daily habits and no longer need to be on your power list of 5 items. They become a routine, just
Yeah.
something you're doing regardless of not needing the reminder.
Yeah, and it's about that behavior change, and it is uncomfortable to make behavior change. It could be diet, nutrition, exercise, things that are business related, networking. And I'm just thinking of the things that kind of gave me anxiety over the years. But getting out of your comfort zone, I believe that our American comfort is such a killer. If you think about Americans, we want to be comfortable everywhere we go at all times. We want everything to be as climate controlled as possible from the moment that we get up to when we step into our vehicles, from when we walk into Costco. We don't want to experience any discomfort ever. But it is the discomfort. The struggle is the gift. And so when you're struggling, when you're getting uncomfortable, when you're challenging yourself, when you're doing some of these things that we're talking about, prompting behavior change, that is when you grow. You grow when you are uncomfortable. And when you're uncomfortable long enough, well, then you get used to being uncomfortable, and it's not as uncomfortable. And then you can add new things and you continue to build. And so that's what I've tried to do. I also do the power list as well, where I write down every morning things that I need to get done that day. And then I can also just refer back, like you were saying, and say, you know what, this is everything that I did today. And it's really an incredible sense of accomplishment.
And that's why it's so important to write it down, whether it be on just a piece of paper on your desk or through your Gmail. I use on my Google Mail, Gmail. There's a tasks feature where on on the right hand side of your screen, you can just write down these daily tasks and click them when they're accomplished or when they're completed.
Mhm.
So there's all kinds of just different little, tools out there to ensure that you are doing this consistently.
That's
I'd like
great.
to, if I could, just share one last kind of along the same topic. I just heard about this about 2 weeks ago, and I really just got some value out of it. It was just an Instagram post that I saw that I saved. So I wanted to share it with you guys too, but it kind of falls along the same topic where they talk about, if you have an aspiration to get better at something, let's just say
Yeah.
that you're in a business where if you became bilingual, that would really give you a competitive advantage over maybe some of your coworkers or your other businesses that you're competing against. We'll use that as an example, just
Okay.
learning a second language. It's called 18 minutes a day. So basically it's just talking the math behind this concept where 18 minutes a day, if you spend that time dedicated towards whatever the skill is you're trying to improve upon,
Hmm.
after 1 year, you're going to be 95% better at that skill than anybody else.
Yeah.
How, again, these small daily actions over time lead to pretty massive results. So just doing the math behind that, 18 minutes a day is about 109 hours a year. So 18 minutes times 365 days, that's 6,570 minutes, or about 109.5 hours. So obviously that's, a lot of time dedicated over the course of a year, but something as small as just 18 minutes a day. And I would argue that anybody can find 18 minutes in their day if they're being intentional about it and trying to improve on something. That's
Yeah.
half of a TV show, or whatever it may be. Getting up.
And if you don't know where to start, and this is always my suggestion for anyone that is looking to take steps forward, but they don't know where to start. And so this is what I always recommend. If you don't know where to start by taking action in things that are going to impact multiple areas of your life. And so, for example, like we were talking off camera here a minute ago, I want to improve my communication. And I have just bought a couple of communication books from podcasts that I listen to on how to improve my communication. But if I become a better communicator, is that something that's going to benefit me in my business? Is it something that's going to benefit me with my family, with my friendships? It's going to benefit every single area of my life. So by me becoming a better communicator, kind of along the same idea, it's going to have a huge impact on all of these different areas of my life. And so if you don't know where to start with something that's going to have a really positive, meaningful impact on, multiple areas of your life. One skill, but it's going to impact all these different categories.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm the happiest when I'm fulfilled by accomplishments. Having these little minor or
That's because
micro
you're an
wins,
achiever.
but having these micro wins on a daily basis by just being,
Yeah.
proud of yourself that at the end of the week, what, I did that every single day this week. I spent 18 minutes a day, doing my Rosetta Stone Spanish course, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But just having something as minor as just this little thing that you've accomplished on a daily basis, you get this little boost of endorphins and,
Yeah.
excitement that you completed something. You get more self-confidence out of this. And that's, for me, at least, when I'm the happiest, when I have this fulfillment of just knowing that I'm kind of, on the right direction, on the right path, I'm improving. I just think there's a lot of value in that, where people are so quick to pop a pill to feel better, and
Yeah.
depression and anxiety and all these topics are so important right now. Going to the gym on a daily basis, like you were saying, reading, these little things that might not seem like it's really doing anything, truly have some pretty massive impacts on your your mental and physical health.
No time of the week is better for me than like a Friday afternoon after I've logged off from my job. And the weeks that are the best are the weeks where I can say, you know what? I went to the gym every morning at 6 a.m. I didn't miss a workout. I ran every day this week. I got to read my biography. I did my devotional. I had a great work week. And it's so fun to be able to end a week like that. And it's just, from a confidence and a momentum building perspective. And it's just powerful. I use that word a lot. I feel very powerful and in control when I've had weeks like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my last tip on this before we wrap this up is just, it is so much easier to understand if you are progressing, if you create KPIs, key performance indicators, or just some form of a measurement. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So whatever it may be that you're trying to improve upon, and especially with this 80-20 principle, to even know what the 20% is or what the 80% is, a lot of times that's going to be an unknown unless you have some structure behind your business or your personal life where you can measure this. If it's personal life and you're trying to get in better shape, it could be something as easy as, the scale that you weigh yourself on, or it could be, the amount of weight you're pushing on certain body weight exercise or certain exercises in the gym. With business, it could be, how many phone calls did you make that day, or how many appointments did you schedule, whatever it may be. Just understanding, though, that to really understand where that 20% lies, you need to have some form of measurement, whether it be financial numbers or other forms of data, but just making sure that you're at least moving in that direction, where if you don't have those measuring tools available right now in your business, that's step one, is just getting your business to a place where you do have measurements to be taken on
Yeah.
a daily, weekly, monthly, annual basis to then see where that progress can be made.
Lots of great information today. Thank you so much, Adam, for sharing some of your personal stories, your experience, why this is a favorite principle of yours. Just really, really powerful. So thank you.
Thanks, man. Yeah. And again, you guys, if you have any questions on this, we're always available to connect with. Would love to, share any other advice that we personally have, or, it's a two-way street. We'd love just to connect with you and maybe find some ways that you could provide some value to our audience, maybe be a guest on our show in the future. So you can leave either a comment on the show notes after listening to the podcast or on our video version on YouTube, or feel free just to shoot us, either of us, a direct message on social media. We're pretty easy to find. So we'd love just to connect with you guys and hopefully expand our audience and just help take this Pursuit of Progress podcast to the next level.
All right. Well, thank you again, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week on the Pursuit of Progress podcast. Have a great weekend.
See you guys.